Hi guys, it's time for another read aloud for reading. So I just want to remind you that we are describing what the pictures might tell us about the story or what the illustrations are saying to us before we look at the text and even after we look at the text. But starting today, we have a new we will and I will to add to that, and it is we will compare and contrast the adventures of two stories or more stories. So we are doing the Clifford series, and we are going to compare and contrast Clifford's adventures. So you remember that yesterday we read Clifford's family, and I gave you a little sneak peek so you could be making predictions about our today's read aloud. Clifford goes to Washington. And I want you to think about what your predictions were for that. And we'll start reading now. Remember, as I'm reading, I want you to be thinking about how does this story compare with the story we read about Clifford yesterday. All right, are you ready? Clifford Goes to Washington. Written by Norman Bridwell and illustrated by... It doesn't say. We're going to assume it was also Norman Bridwell. Do you have a dog? I do, and his name is Clifford. I'm Emily Elizabeth. Clifford has a lot of friends. One of his friends is Riley, a very good dog. Not long ago, Riley did a very brave thing. He snatched a little kid out of the path of a car. Riley's picture was in the paper and he was on television. Somebody in Washington, D.C. saw the news about Riley. We're going to be learning about Washington, D.C. in social studies. Riley was invited to the White House to receive a medal for his bravery. Clifford was very happy for his friend. Riley got to drive to Washington in a big car. Clifford wanted to see him get the medal, so he tagged along. When he reached Washington, Riley's car crossed a river on a bridge. Clifford was afraid that he would break the bridge. Clifford found another way. It was a hot, sunny day, but some people thought it had started to rain. The people in Washington, D.C. aren't used to having a big dog around. Look at that picture. Why do you think the people in Washington, D.C. thought it might be raining? Right, because Clifford is shaking that water off. Before we went to see Riley to get his medal, Clifford and I did some sightseeing. Clifford's favorite statue was Abraham Lincoln. Boys and girls, these are all symbols of America and American patriotism that we'll be talking about in social studies. Clifford also liked the statue of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson seemed to like Clifford too. Clifford was very excited to see the statue of Franklin Roosevelt's dog, Fela. Fela must have done some very great things to get his very own statue. Clifford and I saw a demonstration going on. The grass was filled with people carrying signs. Some were for something. Some were against something. The people were all shouting. Clifford found this very upsetting. And you can kind of tell by Clifford's face that he finds this upsetting. Then he had an idea. He gave them a place to get out of the heat. Everyone enjoyed the shade, and got along better. I really wanted to go to the top of the Washington Monument, but the line was very long and I didn't have enough time. Clifford fixed that for me. People were surprised to see a girl and a big red dog way up there. The view was breathtaking, but we couldn't stay long. It was time for Riley to get his medal. We rushed to the White House. We passed the National Aquarium. And we raced by the Treasury Building. We got to the White House just in time. Riley and the First Lady were standing on the lawn. Clifford was so happy to see Riley. He jumped all over his face. A bunch of men in dark suits and sunglasses tried to tackle Clifford, but they couldn't do it. Clifford thought he might be doing something wrong, so he sat down. I explained to the men about Clifford and Riley being pals. The First Lady told them to let Clifford stay. And she gave Clifford a big hug. That made our trip to Washington just perfect. Good boy, Clifford. All right. So going back to our lesson frame, we said that we were going to compare and contrast the adventures in the story. So let's go back and remember Clifford's family. What happened to Clifford in this story and where did he go? Who did he see? Who were the characters? What was the setting? What were his adventures? What was the main idea of this story? And then Clifford goes to Washington. Who were the characters? And what was the setting? What was the main idea? What was the adventure? All right, I want you guys to think about these two stories and how they compare. How are they the same? How do they contrast? How are they different? I want you to make a video or write about it. Draw a picture. I can't wait to see what you decide.